You know, there's a place out past the edge of town where the old railroad tracks snake through the pines, rusted and forgotten, like some ghost of a world that moved on. That's where I took my nephew, Tommy, one Saturday afternoon him with his little Polaroid camera, snapping pictures of weeds and dragonflies, his sneakers crunching gravel, eyes big as bottle caps behind smudged glasses. He's 8, the kind of kid who sees a busted rail tie and calls it a castle, and I'm just his Uncle Jake, trying to keep up, grinning at how he makes the world feel new again. But then she showed up Lydia Harper, the HOA queen, strutting out of nowhere like she owned the damn forest, clipboard in one hand, a shiny aluminum baton swinging in the other, her lips pursed tight as a lemon rind. See, Lydia's the type who'd fine you for a crooked mailbox, who'd measure your grass with a ruler and send you a pink slip if it was half an inch too long. Around here, in Willow Creek, she's not just a nuisance, a one-woman dictatorship, ruling our little suburb with her community standards and a smirk that says she's untouchable. I'd tangled with her before, back when she tried to shut down my buddy Sam's 4th of July barbecue over excessive noise. But that day, out by the tracks, I wasn't ready for what she'd do. It started with her voice, sharp as a cracked whip, slicing through the quiet. "This is private property. You're trespassing on HOA land," she barked, heels stabbing the dirt as she marched toward us. Tommy froze, his camera dangling from its strap, and I stepped forward, hands up, trying to keep things calm. "Lydia, it's just us. We're not hurting anything," I said, but her eyes were locked on Tommy, like he was some vandal spray painting her precious cul-de-sac. "That boy's got no business here," she snapped, pointing her baton at him. "No loitering, no photography, no kids running wild like roaches." Tommy, sweet as he is, tried to explain. "I was just taking pictures of a frog, ma'am," he mumbled, holding up his Polaroid like it was proof of innocence. But Lydia didn't care. She didn't even look at the frog. She just swung that bait and crack right into his camera, shattering the lens, sending plastic bits flying across the tracks. Tommy stumbled back, gasping, and before I could reach him, she swung again, this time catching him square in the chest. He hit the ground hard, a little yelp escaping as he curled up, clutching his ribs. I saw red. I mean, have you ever felt your blood turn to fire, like every nerve in your body screaming to move? I sprinted to her, grabbed that baton mid-swing, the metal cold as ice in my palm, and with my other hand, I drove a fist into her jaw. She went down like a sack of flour, sprawling in the gravel, her clipboard skidding into the weeds. "Don't you ever touch him again," I growled, my voice low, the kind of low that scares even me sometimes. Lydia scrambled up, blood on her lip, clutching her stupid clipboard like it was a badge of honor. "You assaulted an HOA officer," she shrieked. "This is my jurisdiction." "Officer," I spat, stepping closer, towering over her. "You're a glorified hall monitor in a pantsuit, Lydia, and you just broke a kid's ribs." She actually smirked and said, "He was breaking the rules. I'd do it again." That's when something in me snapped, not loud, not wild, but cold and sharp, like a blade clicking into place. I looked at Tommy, groaning on the ground, his glasses cracked, a smear of blood under his nose, and I knew this wasn't ending with words. I picked up her baton, snapped it in half over my knee, the metal screeching as it broke. Lydia's eyes went wide. "You're unhinged," she stammered, backing up. "No," I said, my voice steady. "But you're about to find out what unhinged looks like." I grabbed her wrist, dragged her toward the tracks, her heels scraping, her voice rising to a shrill panic. "Let me go? I'll have you arrested," she screamed, but I wasn't listening. I found an old coil of wire rusted, jagged, left by some long-gone railway crew and started tying her to a signal post, her arms pinned back, her ankles bound tight. She thrashed, spat, called me every name in the book, but I just kept winding the wire, tighter, until her skin turned red. "You hurt a kid," I said, staring into her eyes, so close I could see the mascara smudging. "You don't get to walk away." She choked out. I was enforcing the rules, and I slammed her shoulders against the post, not hard, just enough to make her feel the steel. "Rules," I whispered. "This is justice, Lydia. The kind that bites." I stepped back, grabbed a handful of dry pine needles from the ground, and piled them at her feet. Her eyes darted to my hand as I pulled a flint striker from my pocket old army gear, never fails. No, no, don't you dare, she screamed, but I struck the flint, and sparks danced, catching the needles in a quick, hungry flame. The fire was small, controlled, licking at her shoes, singeing the hem of her slacks. I wasn't going to let it kill her, just wanted her to feel the heat, the fear, the helplessness Tommy felt when she swung that baton. She sobbed, begged, her voice cracking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But I just stood there, watching her pride burn away with her cheap blazer. And then, from the distance, a low rumbly a train, real and heavy, its horn cutting through the trees like a warning from God. Lydia's head snapped up, her face pale, eyes wild. That's not real, she whimpered. It can't be. I smiled, cold as the rails. Right on time. The ground shook, the tracks humming, and Lydia's screams turned raw, animal-like. She thrashed so hard the wire cut her wrists, blood dripping onto the gravel. Please, Jake, I have a family. I didn't know he was your nephew, she cried. I knelt beside her, my voice barely above a whisper. You knew he was a kid. That was enough. The train's light broke through the pines, a silver beast roaring closer, and Lydia's voice broke into sobs. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I crossed the line. I stood, walked to an old signal box a few yards away, and flipped the manual override. With a groan, the track shifted, and the train veered left, missing her by inches, its wind slamming her like a tidal wave. She went limp, silent, her eyes hollow, like something inside her had shattered worse than Tommy's ribs. I untied her, slow and deliberate, and whispered, That was mercy, Lydia. Every time you hear a train, you'll remember it. Then I dropped Tommy's broken camera strap on her chest and walked away. Tommy was okay, bruised but tough, and I got him to the ER, held his hand while the doctors checked him over. But I wasn't done. See, I'd been wearing a body cam habit from my old security job and it caught everything. Lydia's baton, her smirk, her screams. I sent the footage to my neighbor, Carla, a single mom who'd been fined by Lydia for letting her kid's bike sit on the driveway. Carla posted it online, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. By morning, it had 1 million views. HOA tyrant attacks child, tied to tracks, the headline screamed. Lydia's voice echoed across the internet. I don't care if he's 8, he broke the rules. Willow Creek exploded. Neighbors who'd lived under Lydia's thumb for years fined for stupid things like unapproved flower pots or wrong fence color showed up to an emergency HOA meeting. They voted her out, burned the old bylaws, and even got the mayor to issue a public apology. Lydia tried to sue me from a hospital bed, claiming assault, kidnapping, you name it. But in court, Carla played the footage, and the judge just stared at Lydia, his voice ice cold. You struck a child with a metal baton over a frog picture? She got 6 months in a psych ward, probation, and her house was sold to cover legal fees. Now, the neighborhood's different. Kids play in the streets again, flags fly without permits, and people wave like they mean it. I'm no hero hell. What I did wasn't exactly legal, but I sleep fine knowing Tommy's safe, and Lydia's gone. Sometimes, justice isn't a gavel. It's a choice, a moment where you say, enough. So, I gotta ask, have you ever dealt with a Lydia in your life? Someone who hides behind rules, who pushes until you break. Did you fight back, or are you still carrying it? Drop justice in the comments if you've had enough, or just a 1 if you're still here, ready for more. Hit that like button if this hit home, and subscribe for stories that cut deep, because out there, the tracks are still waiting, and sometimes you gotta stand on them to make things right.